Hello, my name is Henry Howe, and this is a presentation on metaphysics, the nature of reality and existence. So, a brief introduction. I chose this because it's kind of one of the most interesting things in philosophy, specifically metaphysics, because there's no real way to observe it, there's no real right answer, and a lot of the readings and writings on it is pretty abstract and interesting. So, without further ado, one of my favorite readings of this unit was Descartes' Meditations on the Philosophy. So, he postures that, like, the senses can be an illusion of either God or demons, but in rejecting them, he still thinks. And the fact that he can cast doubt upon his existence proves that he himself exists. So, his own thought is the proof of existence. Because he rejects what he perceives. Because what we perceive is our reality. What we see, what we smell, what we touch, what we taste. Sorry, I got thirsty there. That is our reality. That is what we perceive, what happens to our senses. He decides to reject that since magic or whatever, it can all be fake. It can all be a dream. But the fact that he doubts existence proves that he himself exists because he is thinking. And that's just the only concrete thing that you can prove in existence is that you yourself exists. So, some of my favorite thought experiments on this, and I'm going to really have to say my favorite thought experiment overall would be Plato's cave allegory. Yeah, allegory of the cave. So, like, there's prisoners in this cave, and there's a little fire and there's a whole like shadow puppets behind them essentially, but they're holding up these things in this fire and it's these great fantastical figures, and like the light from outside the cave and the fire is making these shadowy figures look all fantastical, and what those prisoners are perceiving is their reality. So since it's not real, we know it's not real, but those prisoners perceive it as reality because it's what they see and it's the only thing they know. They don't know of the whole reaction and the man behind the curtain, if you will. So that's a pretty interesting experiment that I have because none of them think to crawl out or they can't crawl out. So they're made to think that outside these caves are these fantastical beasts and all that. So what we perceive is our reality, even if what we're perceiving is false. And another thing I found interesting, it was a thought experiment, was the brain and the vat experiment. Like, it kind of plays off Descartes' rejection of the senses because our reality could be false because the brain and the vat, it explores that we might not really be within existence. Our existence may be trapped within a vat by some mad scientist. We might be or pardon me, connected to a computer. So like all of reality may be a simulation that we're experiencing while in a vat. And that we can really, it's kind of ties back into Descartes because we can really only prove that we ourselves exist within this reality by the fact that we know that we ourselves think. So even if we are brains in a vat, we ourselves still exist. You know, the all of reality could be fake around us. Every person we interact with, our entire family, every friend, all the years and eons we spend, each individual may spend it on a different planet. But we know that we exist because we ourselves think and we can cast doubt upon our own existence. We can think that we are in a vat. So that proves that within that vat that we exist. You know, it's just kind of interesting to me because we could be living in a simulated reality instead of true reality. I just think that's a little interesting. And I think another interesting thought experiment would be like the classic Schrodinger's cat. That, the cat is put in a box with a poison and it may ingest the poison and it may not. But you don't know if the cat did or didn't, or is alive or dead until you open and observe the cat. So Schrodinger's cat is an experiment that teaches us observation and our senses are important to understanding reality. But like my favorite would still be the brain in the vat, just because it proves that we ourselves exist. And Brain in the Vat was conceived by Gilbert Hartman and Hilary Putnam. And I just thought it was very interesting because it's a lot like Descartes' evil demon. And Schrodinger's cat is very classic from Big Bang Theory. And, it'd be kind of bad if I didn't put it in there. And it just shows that observation is important to our understanding of reality. I'm kind of running out of things to talk about. I'm so sorry. But I just thought that's just my favorite portion of philosophy. And I think, therefore, I am is kind of the basis of all of existential and metaphysical philosophy, in my personal opinion. I'm not sure how true that is. I don't have a philosophy degree, but I guess that's the conclusion of the overall meat of what I'm talking about. How perception is, or how our existence and perception of reality, or existence and view of reality, is shaped by our perception and our senses. And while we can't trust that, we can know that we do exist within some reality based on the fact that we possess thought. And even if our reality is fake, that we ourselves and the true self is real and a little undeniable, if you will. Even if everyone around us is stimulated by the evil demon in Descartes, or we're brains and vats, what we perceive does happen. We do perceive it as real. And if we're a brain in a vat, we're probably not getting out anyway. So I don't really have anything else to add. But those are just like my three favorite thought experiments. And I think this is a very interesting subsection of philosophy because there's no true right answer. I think, therefore, I am is the only thing we really have. And it's the only proof that anything exists is ourselves and the fact that we ourselves think. Because our pain, our death, our suffering, our joy, our happiness, our anger, it can all be simulated. But because we think these things and we think happy thoughts, angry thoughts, everything in between and up and above, we exist because we ourselves think these thoughts. And I guess that ends my TED talk. I decided to kind of do stream of consciousness, and I apologize for that. And I hope y'all enjoyed it.